Hi, this is a conversation with Marsha Familaro Enright, and she is the president of the Reason, Individualism, Freedom Institute. Professor Enright, what does living as a free person mean?
Well, if you think about the requirements of living in a free society, you have to be self-reliant, you have to have your own judgment about everything, you have to be responsible, and you have to treat other people with respect towards their rights. So that's the basic elements, I think, that are involved in living as a free person.
Can regular education help people to learn how to live as a free person?
I think there's a fundamental problem with traditional education in doing that, because if you think about the way traditional education operates, the teacher is the authority that's conveying information to the child or the student who's supposed to be the recipient, or like a vessel to take in all this information. And where in that process does a person have a chance to, does the student have a chance to be making their own judgments, or learning how to reason about things themselves, or being self-responsible if they're told what to do all the time? So that's kind of the basic problem with the traditional model.
And what's the option?
Well, I think that there's different methodologies that you can use to inculcate a more self-responsible and self-initiated program of education. There's, on the lower level, I'm very familiar with the Montessori Method, in which the education is very individualized, and the child is given tasks to do that are just right for his level of development and his interests. And so this encourages this self-discipline to work hard and to find what he's interested in doing, and to make his own judgments about what he wants to do next, where he wants to go with his learning. And also in the classroom, in the Montessori classroom, there's a lot of emphasis on how do you behave properly with other people. In higher education, I think that's something that we really need to think about in terms of incorporating different methodologies in the classroom. For example, there's the thing I'm very fond of is a methodology called shared inquiry dialogue. This is where in the classroom you're all working on a common text. The teacher is a facilitator in the discussion, but not an authority. The only authority is reason. And what I mean by that is that the people in the discussion have to give their reasons and the facts that they base their reasons on for whatever their opinion is about the text that they're all learning about together. So that's the kind of methodology that encourages more autonomy and encourages the development of independent reasoning.
In this context, could it be said that teachers should not teach or professors should not profess?
Right. With this idea, the way traditional education works, people are taught to be passive. They're expected just to listen to the authority and take in whatever they say as the truth. But how does that teach somebody how to make up their own mind? Because when you grow up and you're out in the world, and no matter what you're doing, whatever your profession, you have to have your own judgment about what's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do, what's the best way to achieve your goal. How do you practice that if all you're used to is somebody telling you what the answers are? So in this other kind of methodology, the teacher is, in a certain way, the texts are the teachers, because you try to pick texts, or you try to pick works that you're studying, might be science, it might be artwork, that are the best that humans have produced, so that the students studying them get that example in their minds. What do the greatest thinkers, what do the greatest writers, how do they say things? How do they think about things? How do they reason about things? Can we understand that? Can we, in the group together, I get a chance to hear other people's interpretations of this same work and maybe learn ways of reasoning that I hadn't thought of before. So that also allows me to develop my abilities to reason independently. But I'm not hearing a conclusion from an authority telling me, oh, this is the way to understand this.
And is this different, or is the same as Socratic practice?
Yes, it's Socratic practice. Yes, basically Socratic practice. I've been a little worried about using that terminology lately, because the word Socratic practice or Socratic seminar is used in different ways. And so when you're talking about it, people can be confused about what kind of discussion you're having. There's very typically in law schools, they'll talk about Socratic dialogue, but what that means is that the teacher shoots out some question to the student and they have to have the right answer. You know, it's taking that side of what Socrates did. Like, let's see if we can keep everybody on their toes about whether they have what their reasoning is. But it's not the kind that I'm interested in is much more collaborative and empathetic. So you're really trying to understand what the other person is saying. And the great thing about that is when you think about it, the classroom is a mini society, like a micro society. So depending on how you treat each other in the classroom, you're learning different skills of how do you treat people out in the world. And in a free society, you want to treat other people with respect. You want to understand that they have the freedom to pursue their own values as long as they're peaceful, and that your interaction with them is going to be a matter of trading with them. Do you have something valuable that they want? It might not be something material, it might be something intellectual, it might be something spiritual or emotional, but you want to deal with them as equal individuals. So where do you learn how to do that? Well, in this kind of collaborative discussion, you're treating the other people with great respect. You're listening to what they have to say and thinking deeply about, well, is that true or not? Does it fit with the facts? What's the reasoning like? So it develops virtues in you that are really valuable in a free society.
Can we abound in those virtues? What is the nature of those virtues?
Well, they're the kinds of things that I was talking about previously, being honest, being very fact-oriented, being reasonable, being self-reliant. You know, you don't expect other people to take care of you. You take responsibility for what you do. You're just with other people. You have integrity, so you have a set of values and you live by them and you treat other people fairly. You trade. You have pride in what you do. And so how do you develop all of those?
When teaching, when are you utterly happy?
Me? I'm utterly happy when I see that the students are really engaged in the work that we're doing and that they're figuring out the ideas for themselves. It's quite interesting because a lot of times when your traditional teacher watches a Socratic or a shared inquiry dialogue, they get very, very nervous about the fact that the students getting to the answers or what the right conclusions are about the work. I mean, as a teacher, I will read a work and I'll see that there's a very definite argument. I can see the line of the argument that I think any rational person should get out of that text. And the traditional teacher will often be very nervous about, oh, the students aren't, they're talking about this, they're talking about that, they're not getting to what the fundamental argument is. But it's very interesting how often you let the students go, you encourage them to reason, you ask them what is their evidence, show me in the text where you think the writer is saying that. And after that transpires for 45 minutes or an hour, they come to the conclusion, they figure it out. And that's really beautiful because that means that they are reasoning for themselves very well.
So the process is important.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How would you describe a good learning experience?
A good learning experience is where I have a great interest in something. I have questions, and I'm able to find them out, whether it's from a person, or from a reading, or from an experience. And I really enjoy the interaction with the other people.
From the point of view of a student, what should students expect from professors, from teachers?
Well, I think the students should expect that the professor has their interests at heart. That the professor's attitude should be, how can I help this student learn how to learn and learn important ideas, important facts, and take those out into their life and figure out a way to use them.
And if a professor would like to learn more about this methodology, these processes, where should he begin?
Well, there's a book by Michael Strong, who's a person I know you've interviewed, called The Habit of Thought, From Socratic Seminars to Socratic Practice. It's an excellent foundational text. There's also a book called Teaching with Your Mouth Shut. That's a very interesting book. I think that they'd have great value, especially here at UFM, to observe what Bert Loan is doing in the Michael Polanyi College, because he's implementing this methodology in his classes brilliantly.
Does this reading apply to students who would like to know more about
Yes.
this methodology and process?
Yes, yes. I also have an article about it on a website that I have of my writings called the fountainheadinstitute.com. And so I have one on how to learn to think firsthand. And that's about the methodology and how it's set up, how it works, and why it results in that.
Professor Enright, thank you very much for sharing these experiences and ideas with us, and thank you too.
Thank you for having me.